So here's what we're going to do this morning. I'm going to give a brief introduction to our guest. We will then see a video. He will then come and make a talk in English, and then we'll have an interview that will be interpreted. So you have your headsets there, so you'll need that when we do the interview. So our guest today is the president of Toyota Motor Corporation. This is a company that his paternal grandfather started, and his maternal grandfather actually started another very impressive company, Takashimaya department stores in Japan. He is a person who was educated in Japan at Keio University. He got a law degree. He then came to the United States and got an MBA at Babson College, and he then joined the company that his father worked at and also was started by his grandfather. He worked his way up. He worked in Asia, worked in the United States, worked in Japan, and he started in the company in 1984, and he's been the CEO, the president for the last 8 years. He has been running a company that has well-known brand around the world. Toyota was actually started as a motor corporation in 1936. Today, it has a market value of about $170 billion. It has revenue of about $270 billion and employs about 370,000 employees around the world. It employs 37,000 employees in the United States, and if you count the dealers, it's 137,000 employees. Today, the company is one of the largest automobile manufacturers in the world. The company is well known for its automobiles, but also the company is well known in other areas as well for sports cars. This is the sports car Supra that the company is now coming out with again this year. The company is also involved with the space agency in Japan, helping to produce a mobile vehicle that will ride around on the moon. What we're going to do today is talk about the issues that Toyota faces in the United States and around the world relating to regulatory problems and relating to market tastes and consumer tastes around the world. Before we do that, though, I'd like you all to see this video. Run that.
Without Supra, I couldn't be a master driver. I trained my master driver ability by driving Supra a long time ago. I went to Nürburgring together with Mr. Naruse, who taught me how to drive the car. Many car is driving more than 200 kilometers. So I'm so scared. One lap is about 10 minutes. I felt like 10 minutes from now, am I still alive? At that time, Supra is no longer in production, no longer sells. All other car makers, their vehicle is the vehicle which they are going to introduce 2 or 3 years from now. Only Toyota, only myself is driving used car. Today, I meet friend from long time ago. We are kind of separated, but now we meet again. We are back in Nürburgring for final testing of the new Supra. Toyota lovers are waiting for Supra. I think we need a Supra story again.
Mr. Toyoda, as you can see, is a licensed master driver, and this car here is going to be sold for, did you tell me it costs about $6,000 or something like that? No, a little bit more than that, but you can talk about it. Mr. Toyoda. Thank you.
Thank you, David, for your kind introduction. And good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor to be with you today. And of course, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't try to tempt you with a brand new Supra. A car that is near and dear to my heart. We recently launched the Supra in Detroit at the North American Auto Show, and it made me realize just how far we've come from the first vehicle we ever sold in the US, the Toyota. It had a nice paying job, but was so underpowered it could barely manage 45 miles per hour. Thankfully, we worked a few things out since that. Since the first Toyota dealership opened in Hollywood, California in 1958, we've sold almost 65 million vehicles here in the US. But actually, Toyota didn't start out as a car business. We began as a maker of fabric weaving looms in Japan. My great-grandfather, Sakichi Toyoda, invented the automatic loom in 1924. His son, my grandfather, Kiichiro, wasn't so interested in the family business, however. An engineer by training, he went to the US and fell madly in love with American cars. He returned home determined to persuade his father to let him try to build cars. The first Toyota, the Model AA, debuted in 1936. And the rest, as they say, is history. In fact, my grandfather was just inducted into the American Automotive Hall of Fame. Thank you. Although he died before I was born, I know in my heart this is an honor he would never have thought possible, and one that would mean so much to him. So I'm now the third generation Toyota to run this company. And perhaps you have heard the saying that the third generation ruins everything. Well, hopefully that will not be the case. So far, so good, but you never know. My love of cars began at an early age. In fact, when I was a little boy, I wanted to grow up to be a taxi driver. I didn't quite get there, but close enough. My love of all things Americans began when I was a student at Babson College in Boston, a place that was to instill in me a lifelong belief in entrepreneurship, perseverance, and the Red Sox. Now, to say there are challenges when I became CEO in 2009 is an understatement. But as I had learned from my days in Boston, I was determined to never give up and to make Toyota a better, more responsive company, not just for our customers and our employees, but for society at large. Toyota was founded on the principle of continuous improvement, or Kaizen. And I believe that you can never rest, never assume you know all there is to know. In fact, to quote the great American philosopher, Yoda, I believe that sometimes you must unlearn what you have learned in order to grow and move forward. This has never been more true in our industry than today. I believe automotive industry is undergoing the same level of disruption as when we moved from horses to cars. It's why I founded the Toyota Research Institute in 2015, with offices in Silicon Valley, Boston, and Ann Arbor, to focus solely on the development of autonomy, robotics, and artificial intelligence. And that's why I also launched another standalone company here in the US called Toyota Connected, which has developed a software platform for all kinds of mobility services, such as car sharings. Last year, we introduced our e-pallet concept, and autonomous mobility solutions for e-commerce retail and beyond, including ride-sharing, delivery, and retail. Today, you have to travel to the store. In the future, with e-pallet, the store will come to you. New forms of powertrains are also driving change in our industry. Electric vehicles are what everybody's talking about these days, that and the final season of Games of Thrones. But there's still much work to be done to increase consumer demand for all electric vehicles, which is why we are working with government to create the charging stations and infrastructure necessary to support all electric vehicles, pursuing emissions-free technologies, and reducing greenhouse gas is also a huge priority for us, as it should be for everyone. We began our effort to help the environment many years ago by introducing hybrid technologies. And our fuel cell technology continues this journey. Recently, we began testing heavy-duty zero-emission fuel cell trucks in the port of Long Beach and Los Angeles, the place where 10% of the vehicle causes 50% of the pollutions. 1 year in, we are well on our way to making this operation commercially viable, as we help to improve the air quality in this part of the US. Now I have to say, without questions, the US has played a critical role in our success as a company, and it is something that we continue to be grateful for. Today, we currently have 10 plants in the US, and we just broke ground on our 11th in Huntsville, Alabama, in partnership with Mazda. 2 years ago, we officially opened the doors of our new US headquarters in Plano, Texas. And believe me, it's way nicer than my office in Japan. In 2017, we announced an additional investment in the US of $10 billion over a 5-year period, which we're actually increasing to $13 billion, to support additional production in our Kentucky, Alabama, and West Virginia plants, as well as our customers in the United States. One thing that unites people, no matter where you live, is the Olympics, which is why we decided to become the worldwide sponsor of the Olympics, Paralympics, and Special Olympics. Because in a time when so much seems to divide us, it's good to remember how much actually unites us. As global citizens, I believe it's up to all of us, especially corporations like Toyota, to do our part to help make the world a better place. We have a set of values at Toyota, passed down to us to my grandfather, that we refer to as the Toyota Way. Values that include integrity, humility, and respect for others. And for us, the Toyota way is more than just words. It's guiding light, a reflection of who we are as a company. And we believe it's our duty to shine that light everywhere we can. So, on behalf of the nearly 200,000 Toyota employees, suppliers, and dealers here in America, I want to thank you for inviting me here today. Our tagline in the US is, "Let's go places," and together. I hope that's exactly what we continue to do. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, during our conversation, please make sure your headsets are connected to your receiver and turned on. Channel 1 is for English, Channel 2 is for Japanese. And now, David Rubenstein, President of the Economic Club of Washington, D.C.
So thank you for that presentation. My first question is this. Is it a burden to have the last name Toyoda when you were working at Toyota? So when you joined the company, did people think you would inevitably rise to the top, or did you feel there was a lot of pressure on you and maybe it would have been better if you'd worked at another company rather than Toyota?
First of all, let me speak in Japanese.
When I was a little boy, I felt being a Toyota a burden because when I was in junior high or maybe the grade school, well, you're a son of a president, he said, and you can do this because you do have this Toyota family name. So that's what always happened when I was a little boy. So I wanted people to take me for what I was, and that's why I joined the world of sports, where I dedicated myself. Now, today, in this time and age, am I ready to restart my life with a totally different family name? I still think I like this, and I prefer this name, Toyoda. Actually, my grandfather passed away when he was 57 years old. I'm already 62. So 57, when I passed the age of 57, I always thought of my grandfather. The founding members of Toyota, they never experienced the good part of Toyota. They just reinvented Toyota before the weaving company. So I wanted them to use me.
So you may have noticed that Toyota is spelled differently than you spell your own last name. Toyota has a T in it, and you have a D. So have you thought about changing the name of the spelling of Toyota or changing your own spelling of your name?
Many people ask me the same questions.
I thought that was an original question. I thought nobody else ever asked that.
And once my father told our family members, why don't we change the name from Toyota to Toyota? All family members, including myself, said no. Because we think Toyota is a company name and Toyota is the family name. So because of the Toyota is no longer the Toyota's family companies. This is more like everybody's companies.
Okay.
That's why I think Toyota and Toyota.
Okay. So the biggest challenge that a automobile manufacturer today has, Toyota, Ford, General Motors, is what? The changing nature of the cars that people want to buy? Or is it regulation? What is the biggest challenge automobile manufacturers have today?
First and foremost, each country and each region do have different roads. So we have to build cars that is just right and most suitable for roads in a specific region or country. And so those cars best fit for that roles of that country is recognized, and therefore the home country manufacturers knows the roles best, know the customer needs best. So in that sense, the car makers from the home country, in that they do know the customers and roles, do have some advantage. But in our case, we have taken root here in the United States for the past 50 years. So through that history, working together with American partners, we came to know the roles, came to know American customers here. And therefore,
Okay.
we don't distinguish American manufacturers or Japanese
Now, let's
manufacturers.
talk about ride sharing, for example, Uber or Lyft. If people continuously use Uber or Lyft or their equivalent, won't that mean that automobile manufacturers will sell fewer cars? So is this a threat to you, and what are you doing about it?
The car business model is very well made, I believe, because first of all, people would change their cars. So they go to new cars, which has a more advanced technology. And when they trade in their old cars, that would create the used car market. And there are other factors in the value chain, such as insurances and other things. And car sharing, as you mentioned, so-called CASE case, that business model itself, the automotive business model itself, may be disrupted. Therefore, compared to the past business model, may no longer be viable. However, in the real world where people do use the vehicle or the cars, that's something that we have to keep doing. I think people expect us to keep manufacturing automobiles.
Now, one of your competitors, Ford, announced not long ago that they were not going to be making traditional passenger cars going forward. They're just going to make SUVs and light trucks because that's what their customer base wanted. Is there any chance, in your view, that you will get out of the passenger car business and just make SUVs or light trucks? And why do you think Ford decided to do that?
The usage is really changing, I think. Each era or each period, it goes through changes. I don't think it's, if people stop using the vehicle itself, it could be a threat to us, seriously. However, the type of vehicles that people like to use, from sedan to SUV, I think that changes are taking place, that happens. So I think we just need to respond to that.
Okay. So in the United States and Japan and China, they are your three biggest markets, United States, Japan, and China. How different are the car buyers in their tastes between Japan, United States, and China? Are they much different, or are they actually the same when they go in and buy a car? They ask for the same things, they're concerned about the same things, or are they different?
I think the preference or taste is different from country to country. And the reason why the taste is different is, as I said earlier, the roads are different, and also the history of using the car is different. For instance, in Toyota, in the U.S. market, we have about 15% share. In China, about 5%, and in Japan, we have about 30% share. In Europe, perhaps our share is about 5%. So, you know, we have existing in all the markets, but we really have to think about a different product lineup depending on the marketplace we serve.
Now, in the United States, if I buy a car that's a Toyota car, is that made in the United States 100%, or 50% of the cars you sell here are made in the United States? And the ones that are not made in the United States, where are they made?
Out of those automobiles sold here in the United States, about 50% are made in the United States.
Okay.
However, made in America and made in Japan, what we are really concerned about is made by Toyota. the vehicles made by Toyota, whether it's in the United States or done in Japan or done in any other country, we want to provide the same level of quality.
All right, so if I ask you to get into a Toyota car, could you tell whether it was manufactured in Japan or the United States by just driving it?
それは分かんないと思いますけど、
I don't think so. I am the master driver in Toyota. The U.S.-made cars smells like America.
Okay, all right. Do the automobile manufacturers put a special chemical in to make the cars smell new? Because I noticed that they always smell new and people like that smell. Is that done on purpose or is that just an accident?
I don't know exactly why, but the cars made in Europe really smells Europe. And Japan, perhaps it tastes like soy sauce.
Okay. So now, do you think the cars that are made in Japan that are shipped to the United States, that they are national security threats? Are you arming them with guns or other things like that that would make them dangerous for people? Or what is the national security threat that you see there?
Since I'm really speaking in front of this many people, I have to be very careful.
No, that's not. Nobody will pay attention. We'll keep it a secret. Don't worry. Just between us.
Well, first of all, I love United States. I love America. And outside of Japan, I have lived in the United States the longest. And for many years, those dealerships in the United States who supported Toyota and our suppliers, I am very thankful and grateful to them, and I'm very proud of them. So I just don't know why, they call it a national security threat. That really makes me feel sad. I hope that this kind of conversation can go away.
So,
just one thing, if I am to promise, regardless of the direction we go, we will never leave the United States. We'll stay here.
okay. So have you
Thank you very much.
ever met President Trump and talked to him about automobiles or your concerns about national security issues? Have you met the president or not?
Well, when President Trump came to Japan, visited Japan in the National Guest House, Prime Minister Abe introduced me to him.
Okay. All right. And did you tell him about your concerns on national security issues or didn't have a chance to do that?
No, instead of doing that, I gave this sticker to President Trump.
Okay. Says it's impossible. No. Start your impossible. Okay. So let me ask you. If I go in to buy a Toyota car this afternoon, I go to a dealer and I negotiate the price. And the dealer says, let me go check with my sales manager about whether the price is acceptable. Are they really negotiating or the prices are pretty much set? I mean, is there much negotiating you can really do these days?
This is another sensitive question because there is some dealers.
Dealers, okay.
So first of all, dealer is not the company. Their job is only to sell the car.
Okay.
Their job is to maintain what is the car user's feelings and maintain the services and take care of the insurance and everything.
Okay.
So the price is not that important.
Okay, so they make their money on the dealer preparation, so-called, the resale, used cars. Is that where the greater profit is for the dealers, or?
そうですよ。そうなんですけど。
That's true, that's correct. But what we have to be fully aware of is that the price is set and determined by the market and the customers. We have to be fully aware of that and must have full understanding of that. For that to happen, that as OEM, we dedicate ourselves creating quality car offered at affordable prices.
Now, a few years ago, Toyota had a problem. There was a car in California where the accelerator did not seem to work appropriately, and someone died. then came before Congress and testified about that. So what was actually the problem? Why did you choose to testify when you could have had somebody else do it? And has that problem been fixed forever?
はい、あの時はですね、
At that time,
的には問題なか
technically
った
speaking, there was no problem with the car and technology itself. But back then,
説明が遅かっ
I didn't come here to explain quickly enough. Probably that was taken as a problem. I should have come earlier than what I did.
Okay, but there was no technical problem. What was the issue that
た。あ
caused
の
the
時
death?
はそのブレ
Now,
ーキ
at
を踏
that
んだ時
time,
の
when the
制動距離が
brake was stepped on, the decelerating distance was quite
例え
long.
ばプリウスを例に
In the case of Prius, as an example, in this case, once you put your foot on the braking pedal, the deceleration distance
長くなったという
was longer than 60
技術
centimeters.
的な問題が
So that's the technical aspect of this problem. However,
やはりいろんな報道とか
according to the media
世の
reports,
中に私の説明が足り
my
なかった
explanation may have been
60センチの制動距離を
not adequate enough, and therefore the fact that stopping distance extended by 60 centimeters was taken as car taking the life of its own and achieving sudden acceleration, and that was misunderstood. And also our explanation was not really adequate enough at that time.
So now you sell roughly in the United States every year about 2.4 million cars. Are they mostly passenger vehicles, SUVs, light trucks? What is the breakdown of the types of cars you sell here?
詳しくは彼が知ってますけど
Well, he knows the details,
トヨタは他のメーカーに比べて
compared with other OEMs, Toyota sells a large number of sedans, or percentage of sales accounted for by sedans, because in terms of our product line,
が多いので
it's been more or less focused on sedan, and therefore when it comes to SUVs,
Okay.
switching over to those
All right.
was a bit slow.
Suppose I wanted to buy a luxury car tomorrow, and I say, well, there's Mercedes, and there's BMW, and there is Lexus. Why would I want to buy a Lexus over the other two? Why is your Lexus better than the Mercedes or the BMW equivalent?
Don't ask that kind of question to me. Because I'm salesman of Lexus.
Okay. So you would say that's better because it's faster, less expensive, better made, better president of the company.
Maybe better president of the company.
Right.
But if you go to the restaurant, each restaurant has own taste. So the Toyota taste, and Mercedes taste,
Right.
and the BMW taste is a bit different.
Okay.
So your preference is near to the Lexus taste. Maybe you better buy the
Oh,
Lexus.
okay. Suppose I wanted to buy that car there. What's so special about that car? That's something new you're doing, the Supra. How fast does that car go?
It depends on the driver.
Okay, well, so no limit. Now, you're a master driver.
Yes, yes.
So is that safe for the president of the company to be a master driver? Because you're riding around at very fast speeds. Isn't that unsafe for a company that depends on you?
Oh, you are talking to very close to my father.
Okay.
My father is, because I'm driving this kind of car, always say to me very negative things.
Okay. So now you've done these kind of speed races where the 24-hour races.
Yeah.
Isn't that that is dangerous, 24 hours driving around and fatigue and so forth?
That's dangerous, but I'm participating in race, but I didn't do the race.
What do you mean?
Because racing is kind of like 抜いたりあれしたり
I mean, you pass other cars, you take over other cars, but in my case,
あんまり競わずに
I do not compete against others. When there are faster cars coming behind me, let them go first.
車がたくさん走っていく中で
As those many cars
走る
drive,
車というのは
to make sure that your car is safe.
Okay.
That's very important when we sell cars to the customers, to make sure that our car is safe enough, to make sure of that on the grid and on the circuit is important. So I don't think I'm doing something very dangerous by being a master driver or driving in those circuits.
Okay.
What I want to do
Yep.
is to demonstrate that I really love cars that we are producing, and there's nothing wrong about that.
Back in Tokyo, do you drive to work, or do you have somebody drive you to work, or you're...
Sometimes I drive to work and sometimes my driver.
All right, when you drive to work, what kind of car do you drive?
All kinds of.
Okay.
One is a big Land Cruiser,
Right?
and one specific Japanese Alphard.
And when you're driving, do people like notice you? You're Mr. Toyota driving around a Toyota? Or
Very rarely.
They
very
don't know.
rarely.
No. Okay.
The people doesn't think I'm driving.
So let's suppose you want to test your competitors' cars. Do you ever try the BMW or Mercedes or Ford or?
Many times.
And which of those is the best? Which do you think is the best? If you were going to buy something other than Toyota, would you recommend any of those?
Porsche.
Really? Because it's a sports car, you like to go fast? Or?
But Porsche has like Macan SUV type.
Okay, so today in the United States, you manufacture half of your cars are manufactured here. They tend to be in the South. Is there a reason why your manufacturing facilities are in the southern parts of the United States typically?
The people of the United States, they decide where to build.
Okay. And
So the Toyotaの工場があるところには
Where our plants are located, we really value our relationship with the local community. So we had various candidate locations, and depending on the needs of Toyota at a given time, where we feel that we can most strongly support it, usually ended up being the location, where we have those 11 plants now.
now, there's a new phenomenon called driverless cars, or people who don't like that phrase call them autonomous driving cars. Are you manufacturing, or do you plan to manufacture driverless or autonomous cars, eliminating the need for people to be drivers? Are you producing those kind of cars, or how far into the future do you think Toyota will be before they actually have driverless cars?
オートノマスの時代になったとしても、
Even if we are going into the autonomous driving, but I think we still have to have this fun to drive, this very basic concept that relates to the cars.
例えば
For example,
まだ未熟であったとしても
someone who's not quite a mature driver, but they can sort of enjoy and experience driving as if that person is a professional driver. And so that's one of the things that we have to provide, and I think that's the thinking we have to have as an automotive maker.
Now, are you also producing or thinking about producing cars that fly?
はい、はいっていうか私は
Yes.
空を
Well, I would like to have this vehicle that can fly in the sky.
Nobody listen to the president. You're not listening to me.
Okay. All right, but you don't think it's happening anytime soon?
できれば東京オリンピック
Well, if possible, I hope that we can show it at the Tokyo Olympic Games. But
Okay, now do you think driving cars should be an Olympic sport as well? I mean, you're sponsoring the Olympics. Do you have any influence with the Olympics people to say, let's have speed racing as an Olympic sport?
ぜひ考えてほしいなと思います。というのは
I would love for them to think about it. Motorized sports is
同じルール、同じ用具で戦う。
that is the only thing that both in the Olympics and the Paralympics they can apply the same rules and they can really do it in the same way. I hope that they would start considering to take this into one of the Olympic Games.
So when somebody goes to buy a car, a Toyota or anybody else, any other type of car, what do you think the most important question they should ask the salesperson? the price, the quality, where it's manufactured. What do you think, if you were to go buy a car, what would you want to ask the salesperson?
好きか嫌いかだと思いますけどね。
Well, whether you like it or not, whether that customer would like it or not.
And the buyers of cars, are they more men or women? Or women or men? Who actually makes a decision in car buying, in your experience?
In my family case, women.
Women, in your case. And generally, around the world, is it?
Generally, I don't know.
Okay. So today, when you were looking at making a new car, do you get in the middle of the design with the designers? Do you have to approve every new car design and you test them yourself before they're manufactured?
Toyota produces a lot of vehicles, a lot of styling, so it's impossible for me to get involved to all of them.
Okay.
But all the car is something input of my kind of taste, my seasoning.
And
That's kind of the role of a master driver.
of the cars you manufacture and sell, what is the most popular color?
Popular color.
Color.
White.
Okay.
White, black, and silver
In that order, white, black, and silver.
is almost 90%.
Okay. Now, in Tokyo, when you manufacture cars, do you have to worry about potholes in the roads? Because we have, you know what a pothole is?
Pothole?
Pothole is like a big hole in the road that kind of ruins your car when you drive over them. You haven't seen these they don't have those in Tokyo, I guess, a pothole.
Pothole.
Well, you
Which
drive
one?
around Washington, you'll find out. But
これ?
pothole.
Yesterday I tried.
And you saw them. You see the holes? They don't have those in Tokyo, or you don't have to worry about that so much?
Not yet.
Okay.
But there is one hole.
Right.
My friend tried. I use share bike.
Now, I said earlier that you're planning to develop a vehicle that will go to the moon, drive on the moon, I should say.
Oh, yeah.
Why are you doing that? I mean, is there a big profit in going to the moon or something like that?
That's, I think, the dream of our engineers. Our engineers doing some jobs, but they need that kind of dreams.
Okay. So,
I'm sure that's not profitable.
Okay. Okay.
Not profitable at all.
Okay. So, what would you say is the state of the U.S.-Japan relationship these days? You think the government-to-government relationship is good, or what would you say it is?
I really grateful for three things. I really appreciate the U.S. customers, which for the long time they choose Toyota and Lexus vehicles. And also, I very much appreciate our dealers and the suppliers, which help us. And also, thirdly, all the state, which they accept us as we are doing the business there.
Now, you know Prime Minister Abe. What does he think of President Trump? Does he like him? Does he not like him? What does he think? Do you ever tell you? You ever ask him?
I think they're the golf rival.
Really? And who's a better golfer?
President Trump.
Really? Okay. Now, you're not a golfer. You play golf yourself?
I used to play golf a lot, but not recently.
You just drive more.
Just driving.
Okay, so if somebody wants to rise up at Toyota and get to the top, other than having the Toyota name, what is the best way to rise up? Hardworking, smart? What would you say is the way people rise up in your company?
Good to me. Behave.
Oh.
Behave good to me.
Okay, good to you. Okay. Well, that's usually the way it works in most companies. But... Okay, so now you have a son. He's 31 years old?
31, yes.
31 years old. So is he likely to be the CEO and president of Toyota in 30 years or so?
Oh, he is too young to think that way.
But does he think that way? Or does he want to...
We never talked about that.
Oh. Now, if he said he wanted to be a master driver and drive cars very fast,
Yes.
what would you say to him?
Actually, he's doing that.
And it's not a problem for you?
First of all, I felt like my father. Why don't you do this? Huh?
Right.
But what the difference between my father and myself is I jointly to drive together with my son.
Well, that's dangerous. The two
Yeah,
of
but
you?
that's fun.
Yeah, but the two of you, I mean, the two Toyotas, they can't be in the same car at the same time, can they?
Yes.
Really? Geez, I would think that'd be dangerous.
Thank you, thank you very much.
So what do you think is the biggest misperception in the United States about Japanese manufacturers or about Toyota? Is there a perception in the United States about Toyota that you're not happy about and you would like people to know something different than what you think they already believe? Is there a misperception of Toyota in your view or Japanese manufacturers by people in the United States?
Well, in the case of Toyota, we are considered to be a Japanese car makers. And of course, we are a Japanese company, but we try to be the best in town car maker in the community. That's what we do. I use an analogy of a dentist. They're best in the world dentist, best in the United States dentist, and best in town dentist. Which would you prefer? I would prefer best in town dentist. And this applies to car makers as well. I want to be the best in town car maker, to be evaluated and to be loved by the community in which it operates. And that, I think, is very important. And in any community or any location in which we have invested and we are doing business, we are making efforts to be loved by that, to be supported by that community and the township. And that's what I would like Americans to understand fully.
Now, people often say that the most challenging demographics in the world are in Japan. You have the oldest population in the world, the oldest number of people over percentage-wise over 65, the oldest percentage-wise over 100. And today your population is not reproducing itself. So are you worried about that for the future of Japan, that your population is aging and shrinking? Is that a big concern for Toyota? And is that one of the reasons why you want to spend more time, let's say, selling cars outside of Japan?
Well, when one ages, are they not going to use cars? That's not the case. The senior citizens of Japan, they are very rich and very wealthy. But they may have physical difficulties, their legs are not strong enough, or eyesight decreasing. So autonomous driving, the robotics, those areas will be advanced through research and development, and those are the areas needed in terms
So if I wanted to become a master driver, what would I have to do? How hard is that to be a master driver?
First of all, you come to the circuit
Okay?
and you follow me.
Really? Okay. Well, I might try that. Do you have body armor for something like that? Because it could be unsafe. Isn't it not unsafe to learn how to be a master driver?
Well, you just follow me and drive after me. So just be trained like that is good. Driving fast doesn't mean one is a master driver.
Now, some people in your company say electric cars are not as good as hybrid cars because for electric cars, you have to produce batteries. You can't produce enough batteries to really have a big impact, but you can make more hybrid cars. So are you a big fan of electric cars, or do you think hybrid cars are really safer for people in terms of the environment?
Well, Toyota has a full lineup of technology of electrification. Electric vehicles, plug-in hybrid, fuel cell vehicles, and also hybrid vehicles, and conventional and gasoline engine vehicles. So we have a full lineup of those products. And which one to choose is up to the customers and market to choose. So while Toyota is a manufacturer of a full lineup of electrified vehicles, we are ready to respond to whatever is required by the market and customers, and we are ready to serve them.
So final question is, let's suppose I wanted to go buy a Toyota car today. Would you come to the dealer with me and see whether you could help negotiate a good price? Because if you came, I'm sure I get a better price.
Yes, I'd love to.
Okay, all right, we'll do that. All right, well, thank you very much
Thank
for
you
the
very much.
conversation.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you.